Okay, Simon, welcome to Mastering You, the Lifestyle Performance Podcast. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming along. Obviously, we've just had about a minute just to say hello. This is one of the reasons why I started the podcast when, back in January, February when I did, because I decided that I just because you probably don't know who I am and what we do, we offer very much an integrated health approach to helping people live a better life. So now the outcome of that for us in LPT is for what most people want it for is they want to lose weight, they want to feel fitter, they want to feel more energized. But our main point of difference is the integrated approach. And I call it the everything counts approach. So, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. And the big majority of our client base are parents with children. And, we just connected because I know so many parents right now whose health, and this is why our philosophy exists, is suffering to some extent because of the stresses going on in the world. And the stresses that it's having on their children, and obviously when parents have stressed out children, they get more stressed themselves.
Yeah.
So having someone that is an expert in, well, you can tell us what it is you actually do, but having someone expert in helping children be happier, more confident, is I think would be really valuable to a lot of our listeners.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on, Matthew. Delighted to be here, helping your listeners in any way that I can. The thing that popped into my head as you were introducing LPT is that I was chatting. My wife had a personal trainer for a while, and I was chatting to him about why people come. Because they're looking. And I expected him to say something like, losing weight or whatever. And he said, well, they come because they're not happy with themselves. They come because they're not happy with themselves. And they think that physical transformation is going to kind of give them that. And obviously there's more to life than that. And the other thing that popped into my head was a show that was on the telly a few years ago. And it was some plastic surgeons in the States, and they would say, "What don't you like about yourself?" Was it called nip tuck or something? What don't you like about yourself?
I think I saw that. Yeah.
What don't you like about yourself? And I'm thinking, what a way to lead a conversation. So, do you imagine if I said to you, "Hi, Matthew, I'm Simon. What don't you like about yourself?" We're going to be led down a vortex into some very dark and deep, mucky waters, and there's probably going to be a bit of poo at the bottom of that vortex. I don't really want to take anybody down that vortex,
And I'm guessing.
Let's talk about raising people up.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I'm guessing the assumption with that question as well was that the answer was going to be immediately to do with physicality.
Indeed, yeah. Indeed, that's they're going to say. Well, I don't like my nose, or I don't like my, I need a nip tuck, so I don't like my jowls, But we've as your whole business is based on a premise, and your whole philosophy is based on a premise that we're more than our bodies.
100%. Yeah, 100%. We have this, what we call our TCP method at LPT, which is personal training, lifestyle coaching, and personal development. And so the podcast has been the platform for spending more time, more time, but having a platform to help people with that personal development journey. It's a great platform for that, isn't it? It's becoming a huge part of people's lives and what they do. They can listen to a podcast on a walk, on a jog, or in the gym when they're open.
Yeah.
So if we can get into, obviously this is great timing, because actually this is fantastic timing. So yesterday I had I've got two children, got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Cool.
And, you know, our 6-year-old, unfortunately, their school hasn't been allowing back to school. And we had a surprise visit from a teacher. And it was lovely. You know, she came to share a card with some nice words and a little present. And she was, you know, my little girl was so excited about that because she's been really, really missing school, really missing her friends. And about 2 hours later, she had a complete meltdown, almost like a breakdown, you know. And it was one of those where just because it's very, I think I can only remember once or twice I've seen her like that. And it's not until you get those moments when you realize, this time that we're living in right now, this is really having an effect. You know, and then she started to share, you know, why can't I go back to school? I want to see my friends. When's the coronavirus going to go away? And I was like, well, good question. Like, and so yeah, having some strategies and I'm sure I'm not the only parent to have something like that happen recently, right? So, you know, having any strategies that we can learn. How can we learn from experiences like that? How can we help, you know, navigate these to? And one thing I want to say as well is I'm not trying to look for any sort of silver bullets, because I do understand that our kids need to go through some hard times. That's how they learn. And it's not about, I think that I don't know, I can hear from you in a second about this, but one of the things that I think a lot of parents, one mistake they make is that they want to put cotton wool around their children, and they don't want them to feel any pain or any sadness, you know. But at the same time, part of me, my coach head at the moment is saying, well, you know, as life lessons go, this, you know, there's you can learn a lot about resilience and a lot about being strong and through this period. But at the same time, the parent head in me is like, want to just give her a big hug and say everything's going to be okay, and you're going to go back to school in September, and it will be fine and dandy. So, yeah, I mean, anything you can say to that would be fantastic.
Well, the fact is that we all have meltdowns.
Yeah.
That, you know, we all have meltdowns. So I'm not quite sure how far to push this. I'm guessing your audience is fairly conscious. Do you know what I mean by conscious? They're fairly aware.
Yeah.
They're fairly aware. So here's the thing, right? So the agenda. I'm missing my swimming, right?
Okay.
I'm missing my swimming, and I'm missing my friends. And you know, my mum, my dad died like 3.5 years ago, so I miss my mum a lot, because I used to go see her 3 or 4 times a day, 3 or 4 times a week after I've been swimming. So I am. COVID has cheesed me off, right? But here's the thing: I don't feel that the general populace think it is the end of the world. But the thing is, your daughter, she had a meltdown, but she hasn't had that meltdown for the last 3.5 months, has she? She hasn't been. That was the second time she's seen a meltdown. So the outside world, we've been in lockdown for so long, but she had the meltdown at one particular time. So it can't be COVID. It must be something that's going on for it in that moment. Yeah. So the outside, the general populace, me included, right, thinks that the outside world determines what's going on in our head. You know, so we have miserable weather. You know, we have miserable weather. We have annoying traffic jams, right? But have you ever been happy in the rain?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Have you ever been sad in the sunshine?
Yeah. See where you're going with this. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not. It's not COVID, because if it was COVID, she would have been having a meltdown for the last 4.5 months.
Yeah.
So people have a fear. People have a fear of flying when they're not flying. It's because what's going on for them. It's because what's going on in our head determines how we feel. Feelings come from our thoughts. They don't actually come from the outside world. So is this making any sense?
Yeah. No.
So
no,
the biggest gift that we can give ourselves and our kids is a bit of compassion to ourselves, because we're not choosing how we feel most of the time. The outside world isn't choosing. It isn't determining how we feel. What's going on inside us is determining what we feel, and most of the time we're not choosing our thoughts or our feelings. It's stuff that we've picked up from the past. And so my work is with parents, helping them see that, and then giving them the fun tools and strategies and models and metaphors to help their kids see that. So the how-tos don't work. We live in a world that's obsessed with how-tos. And you said, I'm not looking for the silver bullet. I'm not looking for the silver bullet, because there is no silver bullet. That's the whole point. If how-tos work, right, then if how-tos work, then nobody would need your.
Yeah, definitely.
Nobody would need business coaches. Nobody need. But the how-tos, but the how-tos don't work, because the how-tos are a list of different things, tactics, that have worked for somebody else, but that won't work for us, because they just give us more to do, more to worry about, and how-tos don't change the world. What changes the world is when we have an insight about how the world really.
And do you think that that's one of the things I was going to ask? What like a simplistic question, but what are some common myths or mistakes around how we bring up our children? Do you think one of them is that we try and fix too quickly?
I don't really have an opinion on that. I think the biggest, it goes back to the silver bullet thing, right? So parents are adjusting. So if you think about, I'm changing metaphors here slightly, but if you think about a guy on a trapeze act, a trapeze wire, that guy is constantly adjusting. That guy or girl is constantly adjusting their approach, to keep everything going, to keep upright, and that's what parents are doing all the time. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're adjusting, but the silver bullet way is there's one way to do this, and people. We get in. So let me talk about it. For small business owners, right? So the world is, the internet marketing world is full of. You're struggling with your business, or you're struggling with your parenting. I know the answer. Pay me, and I'll tell you the answer. That's essentially what all marketing is all about. Yeah. So you're struggling. I know the solution. Pay me. There is a silver bullet, because we're led to believe that there is a silver bullet. We are raised on that there is one way to do stuff. Okay. But as a parent, you are reacting and adjusting your approach all the time, and when to when your little girl's having the meltdown, and my heart goes out to you. Yeah. you know the right thing to do at the time, which is to hug her and say everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And you know when to do that, and you know when to ask her a question or move her on a bit, but that is an innate skill that you have as a dad. You are, there is no one way. You are reacting in the moment, doing what is best for you in the moment.
Okay, brilliant. So so you mentioned.
Am I blowing your mind, Matthew?
No, it's good stuff.
Am I blowing your mind on this?
No.
Good. I'm conscious. I'm trying. This is the first time we talk, so I don't know. I'm trying to gauge my level. So when.
We can go off in any different tangents. Last podcast we did corporate world wellness, then we did spirituality. So we're going off in lots of different tangents. So yeah, it's absolutely. You mentioned some models and strategies and sort of general principles that you recommend for parents to take. What are some what's some top strategies that, particularly at the moment, one of the things I wanted to discuss is the subject of, we are, and again, it's probably conditioning, but we are hearing it all the time, there's going to be lots of anxiety and lots of depression coming out of this pandemic. It's going to be massive effects on long-term on children. So I suppose a question on a lot of parents' minds is what can we do about that? What can we do?
Don't buy into it.
Don't buy into that. Okay.
Okay. So let me explain that, because that's a very flip thing to say. Okay. So let me express a little bit about that and maybe give you a personal example, right? So because I know how bad, how dangerous buying into stuff is, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So I was adopted when I was 5 weeks old, and I didn't have a problem with being adopted. And then somebody suggested to me that I did when I was about 40, and I read a book, and I bought into that problem.
Right.
I bought into the idea that that basically I was damaged goods. I was damaged goods. I was unloved, and I was not good enough, and I was forever going to be a victim of this thing that had happened to me, right? And until I realised a couple of years later that that's not true. So why I say don't buy into it is because if we buy into stuff, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I thought I was knackered, and therefore I became knackered in my head. Yeah. And so that's the thing. Don't buy into it. The media is set up to scare the bejesus out of us, and social media is set up to make us angry. So yesterday, there's all this anger about masks, right? Now, if we focus on the anger, and social media, the algorithms, the Facebook algorithms, they know that anger spreads quicker than anything else. And what Facebook needs more than anything else is more views, so it can sell more adverts and it can make more profit. That's how they're set up. That's how they're set up. And most people don't realize that. I didn't realize that until I read a book about it. So don't buy into the rubbish. It's a control factor. It's a fear factor.
Do you feel that it is completely rubbish?
About ranting. Sorry?
So just to play...
I am now ranting.
We've got a bit of delay. Just to play a little bit devil's advocate then, do you feel that it really is all rubbish? Like the predictions on... Now, I get what you're saying, in that if we believe that it to be true, then that's only going to exasperate the problem. But with children, being isolated for so long, and for parents pulling their hair out in the process, and maybe being more stressed and not as good parents as they potentially could be, or as compassionate as they could normally. And also, that, let's face it, there's going to be, unfortunately, families that weren't in good places before this even happened, that it could compound the effects. Do you think that really is a lot of a BS of how bad it's going to be? Is it not going to change so much than before the pandemic, or do you think this could have an effect? I'm just curious more than anything.
I don't really know. I can see. My concern is me and what's going on for me.
Yeah.
So I want, so we talked about earlier on about raising children, and I talked to you about a lovely metaphor from my mentor. He says encouragement does for people what helium does for balloons. So I want to be the best me that I can be, and I want to help parents be the best parents that they can be, so they can help their kids be the best kids they can be, and everybody can live whatever they say, that what's that phrase at the moment, living their best lives. That's where I want to be. So that's where I don't put my focus on how bad everything could be. So I don't really feel I have an opinion. I'm just talking about my approach in terms of where I focus my energy. I focus my energy on lifting people up, not lifting people up, getting them to, lifting people up rather than getting them to look down a dark hole.
Okay, if
that's
we could,
an answer to your question, but
if we could go into that a little bit. So if you could, if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about, what you do, how, what some of your key models and strategies are, and giving, maybe some examples of how you work and the sort of effects that it has had on children would be amazing.
Okay. So I'll start with the story. So I've been doing this 7 years, right? And it's based on, basically what I've done is I've taken what I've learned in my own personal development, and then I've morphed it, I've tweaked it and simplified it into a way to show kids how the world works, where our feelings come from, and how to help them make their dreams come true, help them ignore other people that say they can't make their dreams come true, and also help them become bully proof so that other kids can't upset them. So when I kind of first got into this, which was, as I say, 7 years ago, the first bit of feedback I had, so I've done this session. I did what they call an author hot seat. So I was writing a book. The book became a comic. And the comic is called Jack, Cherry and the Juicer. And it's the story of how Jack discovers that feelings come from thoughts, like juice comes from fruit.
Okay.
So I said there's no such thing as miserable weather. Yeah. So the weather doesn't cause how we feel, despite what most people think.
Yeah.
So feelings come from thoughts, like juice comes from fruit. And when I'm explaining this, I always think back to my goddaughter, my wife's goddaughter. I said, the teachers just don't get this stuff, Sophie. What is it? She said, well, Uncle Simon, you created the juicer for kids. You didn't create it for grown-ups. So, so this, so I asked I asked the kids. I said to the kids that I'd done an author hot seat, and then we'd done these activities, these fun activities about confident coconuts and positive pomegranates and stuff like that. And I said to the kids, okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to be able to remember what you've learned today. So I want you to finish this sentence for me. Now I know about the juicer, I can, ... And then you fill in the rest of the sentence, yeah?
Right.
So this little girl collared me as I was wandering around the classroom, trying to gauge whether I was at the right level. So our conversation, I'm trying to gauge whether I'm at the right level, because it might be a bit woo-woo in some cases, saying there's such thing as no such thing as invisible weather. So I'm trying to gauge I'm trying to gauge where I was at. I'd been in educational publishing for 20 years before that. So idea of how kids think, but I wanted to tune in.
Yeah.
So this little girl told me that now she knew about the juicer, and she didn't want to tell the rest of her kids about this, the rest of her friends about this. Now that she knew about the juicer, she could go back to dance class. I'm going, right, okay, we're onto something here. And then she told me the story of how she'd been bullied for being too good at dancing. She was 10. And the other girls were jealous, and they started calling her names, and she stopped going to dance class. And she had a leap in her consciousness, a leap in her resilience, a leap in her self-esteem, whatever you want to call it, which had led her to realize she could go back to dance class. And that's one of the things that I've done sessions with 1,600 8 to 11-year-olds since then. And that's what a third of them tell me, that they are bully proof at the end of that session. We only talk about bullying. We talk about making your dreams come true for 35 minutes, bullying for 5 minutes. And what they get is they realize that their feelings come from their thoughts, not from the bully in the playground. So, but until we know this ourselves, it's like if I couldn't teach anybody Italian because I don't speak it. So a lot of my work now is with parents, helping them understand this and seeing this for themselves, so that they can then share it with their kids. Because what better learning can we give our kids than the learning of where their feelings come from? Because that empowers them to choose how they feel in more of the time, whatever the circumstances, whether it's COVID, whether they're being bullied in the playground, whether they're getting nasty text messages on their mobile phones. They realize they see the world with real eyes, that nobody can upset them, because feelings are an inside job, they're not an outside.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic. You just reminded me of a book to reread with my little girl. You probably must know it. Steve Peters' My Hidden Chimp. Do you know?
Yeah, it's the chimp paradox guy. Yeah.
Well, he wrote. I think it's called My Hidden Chimp for children. So it was the children's version of the chimp paradox. Very, very well done. And it's one of those few. Well, it's the only one I've come across. I'll have to have a look at your own. That's, you can work through it with your child as like a bit of a work, but it's storytelling at the same time. And essentially, you're teaching your child emotional intelligence or critical thinking, right? Which is something they don't really learn in schools. Schools are sort of designed just to learn and memorize information more than how do I think about things, how do I work things out. Which is why I think what you're doing, the work you're doing is fantastic. I think what sort of age do you find it kind of absorbs the most? Like what age do children? You said you work with mainly 8 to 11-year-olds.
Yeah. So I historically I've worked with 8 to 11-year-olds. I've done some work with some 6-year-old kids have come to the summer sessions,
Mm.
and some 12-year-old kids have done it. But the sweet spot is kind of 8 to 11, but I found that I took my concept and showed it to those kids. I didn't try and design a product for the suit the 8 to 11-year-olds. I went out with an idea, and I thought, well, I don't know. As I said, I've been in educational publishing like 20 odd years. So we did stuff like, we did 8 million copies of Roald Dahl's Guide to Railway Safety was our biggest project for British Rail, to keep kids safe, so they don't get hurt or worse on playing on railway lines in the summer holidays. So I had an idea about where I would be, but I needed to tune that. So 8 to 11 is kind of the sweet spot. And I've worked with 1,600 kids. Now my focus is, because schools aren't really open to this, as you say. No. They don't teach this stuff. They're not really that open to it. A lot of schools, bullying is unfortunately an epidemic that most schools don't really want to admit to, because they know that PR is bad PR, you know. Word travels around parents like wildfire, so they don't want to admit to the problem. So they're not really open to this, not set up to do this. They're working within a curriculum. So it's not their fault. I'm not pointing the finger at schools. They're working within a system that is totally focused on academic achievement and not emotional intelligence. So they're not set up to do this, and they're not. And so it's not their target.
Yeah, and I think that
But it's a systemic problem. It's not the individual teacher's problem.
Yeah, no, and I was going to say that I sometimes catch myself, because I think it's easy to blame schools for not doing X, Y, Z, and without realizing it, that actually, as parents, you've got a parenting role, and there's vast amounts of things that schools can't teach, and there's only so much they can teach. I mean, I think most parents realize just how difficult teaching is, just having to do homeschooling.
Homeschooling, yeah, and that would be and perhaps what I'd like to share with your listeners is that on that homeschooling thing is that has been a nightmare. That has been a real nightmare for most parents, just the logistics of it. So my heart goes out to parents struggling with that stuff. I think that is that is very real for most parents. I'm not living in some sort of deluded cuckoo land that says that isn't a challenge. But cut yourself some slack. The schools seem they're getting mixed messages from what I can see. So schools are saying, we don't expect you to be teachers, but then here's what you need to do. So
that's pretty much spot on.
The parents that talk to me about. Yeah. So we can cut yourself some slack in wherever you are in life. So I need to cut myself. I'm missing swimming, right? I need to cut myself some slight slack about the little love handles that I've got, which have got a little bit bigger because I can't go to the swimming pool. Yeah. So we all need to cut ourselves some slack. You can only do the best that you can do, whether that's me and my love handles, or a parent trying to homeschool. You can only do the best you can do. Cut yourself some slack, give yourself a bit of a break, and what I find talking to parents, because obviously now because schools aren't open to this sort of stuff, my focus is on helping parents, because bluntly put, you parents want your child's happiness is far more important to you than their results, their academic results in school. You want your child to be healthy and happy, well, me too, and that's what I'm here to do. And yeah, that's what my whole approach is about. And what I see a lot in parents is what I see in myself. So I was bullied pretty badly as a kid. I had buck teeth, all sorts of different sorts of bullying. I don't really need to go into now. But what I felt was that the bully from the playground had moved into my head,
right,
and telling me that I wasn't good enough. And I see that in pretty much every parent that I speak to. They're doing the best that they can, but the negative voice in the head says you should be doing better, and then the media picks up on this, right, and says, and we come up with a word for it called parent guilt, and we thingify it. We thingify it. So we take something that is a passing thought, a recurrent thought maybe, but a passing thought, and we make it into something that's a thing. I've got parent guilt, and we're focusing all our effort, we're focusing all our energy on what's wrong in life, and rather than whether that's right. And my purpose is to build people up, not to knock them down. So and then there's people online saying, oh, you can learn to silence the voice in your head. Well, I've spent a lot of time trying to do that, and it doesn't work. The only thing that actually works is ignoring it, realizing it's an opinion that you no longer value anymore. And who doesn't? Because, as I say, the bully in the playground had moved into my head, and so I see that in so many people. And who doesn't want a child without that bullying in their head?
You said that the bullying has become like a bit of an epidemic now. I wasn't aware of that. Is social media, the rise of social media, is that when we're talking about bullying now, we're not talking about just playground kind of name calling, are we?
There's no escape from it. So there's no escape from it because they can, So when I was bullied, so I was bullied on scout camp. I didn't go back to that scout. I didn't go back to that scout group. I went to another one, and that was a far more pleasant experience, because there wasn't this nasty patrol leader who'd obviously picked up some. He'd had it. Well, so kids, when I got bullied in the playground, but then when I got home, the bullies weren't there. But I didn't have a mobile phone where they could send me nasty text messages, or they could socially isolate me. So people get into all this stuff about bullying, but bullying is an emotional problem, and I've seen 500 kids learn how to become bully-proof in 40 minutes. Well, not even in 40 minutes, in 5 minutes. So I know it's possible. And when I'm thinking about this, it's not we get obsessed by the technology or the sort of the bullying, and we think it's cyberbullying, so it's different. It's not. It is different, but at its heart, what I believe and what I've seen to be the case is we can immunize our children against bullying. And some people don't like that word immunize because we're into injections and stuff like that. I'm just talking as a metaphor.
Yeah.
We can make our children bully proof so that other kids can't upset them. And the logic that I see to that is that I'm sure did you see a lot of bullying when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And so some kids it affected, and some kids it's affected less.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it isn't the bullying. It's the emotional fortitude. Sorry, that's a bit of a, it's the emotional strength. It's the consciousness. It's because I've seen, as I say, like a third of the kids that I've worked with have moved from that sensitive camp into the bully-proof camp through having a leap in their awareness. So that's what it's about. It's about that emotional strength and fortitude. It's not actually about whether it's a text message, whether it's a Facebook message, whether it's a WhatsApp message, whether it's a name calling in the Scouts or the Cubs, or name calling in the playground, or whatever it is. It's about the emotional strength of the.
And the bully picks up very quickly on a lack of emotional strength, right? That's where it.
That's right. So what parents want, what we all want, is for kids to stop bullying others. So the way to stop your child being bullied is to increase their emotional strength, so that they don't take the bait and the bullies move on to another target. And the other key thing is for victims of bullying, and schools won't even, some schools have banned the word victim, some schools have banned the word bullying, but I'm just using those as shorthand. Yeah. The most important thing that any child can see is that it's not their fault that they were bullied. See, I thought it was my fault. I thought that it was down to my buck teeth. It was down to those. I thought it was on me, and I thought it was on me that I was being bullied. And funnily enough, I was talking to a guy who knows what I do about this, and he said, and I named the guy that bullied me on Scout Camp. He said, "You mean so and so?" I said, "Yeah." He said, and he described him, and I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I used to work with him in a pub. He was a waiter, waiter, kitchen porter, washer upper, and stuff like that. And I did that job as well at a different place. But he said, yeah, he was a nasty piece of work." So I thought, and then suddenly I realised it wasn't anything to do with me. It was all to do with him. And if we can, that the greatest gift we can, if our child's being bullied, the greatest gift we can give to them is that, or the first gift we can give them really, is the fact that it's not their fault. We have to get them to see that for themselves.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Reading the Steve Peters book is I remember I heard a saying on a podcast not long ago: "Hurt people hurt people."
That's right.
And
bang on the spot.
Yeah, I love that. And teaching your child that, actually someone that is being nasty to you, that there'd be a deeper reason for it, and maybe the idea of offering some compassion to that person is even for many adults is hard to even comprehend, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And as you're talking about, I was thinking, can I be compassionate about Donald Trump?
Well, this is the question, right? How far do you take this?
How far you take this? Well, so we're into yeah. I think we're all, I think we're all underneath everything. I think we're all diamonds. I think we're all perfect. I'm against I'm against that saying nobody's perfect. I think that everybody's perfect. I think even even Donald Trump is a diamond, who has been.
Don't worry, I won't soundbite
Yeah.
that bit.
Even Donald Trump is a diamond, hidden by
a lot of rough,
lot of manure, a lot of manure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think kids are born perfect. So didn't you see perfection in your kids when they were born? Well, I think we're all born perfect, and underneath everything that we go through, we are still that perfection. So we are, a diamond is the hardest substance known to man. I have.
Nice.
So, yeah. I was just showing. We're doing this by Zoom, so Matthew looking at me while I'm holding up a big glass diamond. I think we're all diamond, and I think we're all born to shine. And I think, but I don't think we're told that, and I think we forget that, whether we're 10 or how old are you, Matty?
37.
So I'm 53. So we all forget. We've never been told that we're a diamond, or we forget that we're a diamond, and we don't. A diamond doesn't need to do anything to shine. We just need to kind of push away the manure that's obscuring the brilliance of who we truly are.
So that's a good point, because you sort of, your thing is obviously helping parents build up, or you help build up children's confidence and happiness. Where do you draw the line then in giving your child lots of compassion, but not what's the word, mollycoddling them, that kind of giving them so much that they actually become weaker? Where do you strike that balance between sort of building them up, to put it in your words, and saying, well done, great work, and to not overdoing that to the point where they think they're great all the time, and they think that that's the expectation of them if you tell them that their grades are good, and then they think that they've got to get grade A's all the time?
So my work is about helping kids see the brilliance of who they are before they did anything.
Okay. And how do you?
My work is helping parents see their brilliance, helping parents let themselves off the hook, and explaining to them how who we are and how our feelings work. My job is not telling parents how to parent, because for some medical reasons, me and my wife don't have any kids. So I'm not a parenting coach telling people how to parent. I'm a children's happiness coach showing parents how to make their kids confident, happy, and resilient. That's what I do. I don't. I don't. Yeah, I don't.
I get that. I get it. I get the distinction. Yeah, I get the distinction. What are some of the top tips you give parents to do that?
So the top tips is that the top tip is that we can't teach what we don't know. So if you want your child to see their brilliance, then you have to see it for yourself.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's what my job is about. Is about uncovering the diamond in all of us. And also, if you want your kids to be happy, you have to be happy yourself.
Yeah.
That's not happy all the time. That's actually. So I used to worry about worrying. Yeah. worrying about worrying, and I still do sometimes. I'm not totally deluded. I'm not totally in la la land, but I know that, you know, we talked about trapeze net earlier on. So I know that I've got that safety. I've got the safety net, and that safety net that I have is that I know that we are all brilliant. We're all diamonds, and that is my backstop, my safety net.
Yeah, I like that. What how do you kind of categorize this area of personal development? You know, is it emotional intelligence? Is that how you categorize it, or is it critical thinking, or what do you? Does it fall in any category, or not?
Uh, well, I would say it's my own. It's my own recipe.
Okay, but if you were to say to a parent, I don't know, not that you would, because you know you wouldn't be as direct as saying, but if a parent was like, I want to learn more about this, you know, this area, obviously you'd recommend your own books and courses, and we can talk a little bit about those. I just wondered if it's very specific to understanding thoughts and behaviors or brain science, or you know, or is it more of just like emotional intelligence? Oh. Hey,
Hey,
hey, buddy, lost you
I
there.
don't. My yeah. So I'm sorry about that. There's something. My internet's not.
That's okay.
It's
That's okay. No, I'll
so
just yeah, no, I'll read.
after recipe. I said it's my own. It's my own recipe, and then I lost you.
Yeah.
So
Okay. No, I was just, so let me ask the question again. So yeah, no, what I mean, I guess a better question would be, if a parent just wants to learn more about this area, what do you know? Obviously, the first thing they're going to look at into it is yourself and your courses, your books, and you know, I was just curious if there's like a category that it sort of falls under, whether it is like I said, emotional intelligence, or understanding that how the brain works, critical thinking.
no, I would say my approach is probably a like a mixture. It's a mixture from different
Yeah.
different areas. So it's what I've learned. It's not NLP, okay.
Yeah.
It's more. It's a mixture of bit of emotional intelligence. It's a mixture of that and positive psychology and practical spirituality. I mean, it's my unique recipe. It's my or it's a mongrel, whatever you want to call it. It's what I found works in terms of empowering kids to be happy, confident, and resilient. Yeah.
Wow. And so is your main work, is it kind of one-to-one, or is it in groups, or you go into schools?
All one. So historically, I've done the work in schools, and now my focus is solely on parents and helping parents. And at the moment, it's all one-to-one work with parents.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic.
And it's over Zoom.
Yeah.
It's over Zoom, or occasionally it's face to face. Sometimes it's on the telephone. It depends what works. But Zoom is my preference.
Yeah.
Because it's better if I can see what's going on for you in your face as well.
Yeah. And is bullying a kind of a common theme, or is it very much vary quite a bit in terms of the reason for the coaching?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is bullying one that comes up a lot? Is that one of the things that you help out a lot of parents? Is that
it is, but it tends to be a whole different thing. So it tends to be essentially everything tends to come down to self-esteem. So the bullying has affected the self-esteem, and the bullying, the low self-esteem is affecting their confidence and the social skills, and is leading to the bullying. So a lot of work is around, and then a lot of work. Sometimes there's been some unsettling stuff going on at home. So a lot of the mums that call me are single mums. They've gone through a divorce, and there's been some turbulence around that, and that's affected the child. And that it might be the child's not happy at school, or doesn't want to go to school, or is being left out at school. So everything usually comes down to low self-esteem, which is why I talk about the diamond, because the diamond is the opposite of low self-esteem.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great. It sounds really good. And I think
it is. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it must be very rewarding. Like, I feel quite privileged to be a coach as well, and helping people feel fitter and healthier, and it must be very rewarding to see the outcomes that you get. What are some typical outcomes that you get with the parents or the children, more to the point, that you work with?
So there's that leap in their self-esteem. And when the lights go on and they see something, because I believe that change happens when we see something new, we see something about ourselves. And when they aren't scared about the bullies anymore, when they can go back to school, when the mum doesn't have to fight with the child to go to school, when the mum doesn't have to fight with the this is one particular instance I'm thinking about. This was a single mum, and she didn't have to fight with the school anymore, because a lot of schools will turn the problem back on the parent.
Right.
They will turn the problem on the parent. They will make the parent the bad person, because they can't. They will make some inferences about the parenting skills, or the without offering any solutions about the kind of the emotional intelligence, the emotional strength of the child. They'll do that. They'll say that it's the parent. They'll say that it's the parent making this up. So I think it's the phrase gaslighting. It's something horrible I come across. So the parents are going through a whole load of stress that's related to the stress that the child is under. So what blows my mind in a good way is when that ends.
Yeah. And so that I was just, when you were saying, you were explaining that, I was kind of thinking, so what age were you roughly when you started to piece together the reality of what had happened when you were bullied as a scout? When was
So that's a really good question, Matthew. That's a really good question. I'm 53 now. I think it was going through the personal development stuff, and then I learned from the kids, So during the course of what I've been working with kids and with parents, I've learned that stuff, and in books about this sort of stuff. So there's a beautiful metaphor about forgiveness. I'm really, the negative voice in my head right now saying, why the hell did you start talking about that metaphor, Simon? when you can't, you know, you can't follow. But it doesn't, the holding, no, that's the thing, right? So the Frozen song, you know, let it go, let it go. What's the it? What's the it? You know, the it is resentment, or it's hatred, or it's fear. You know, what good if you know, if that was a rotten a rotten pomegranate that I was hanging on to, right? That's a rotten pomegranate in my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm using the kids' analogy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah, sure.
It's a rotten pomegranate. That rotten pomegranate in my head is gonna make rotten pomegranate juice in my heart, and that's the feeling that I'm gonna get. Wouldn't I rather choose some kind kiwis, or some, you know, forgiving figs? Because hanging on to stuff just makes us feel bad.
Yeah, that was why I was just curious about the age, just because I'd imagine that so many adults never even get to that point where they start to even understand some of this stuff to myself. I mean, even the book I mentioned, the children's version of the chimp paradox, I've recommended it to a lot of parents, not just for the kids but for themselves, because actually the book itself, because it's made for kids and it's so simplistic, because let's face it, neuroscience is a complicated old thing. So if you can really boil it down to,
we don't need to understand it.
Yeah, if you can bring it down to, you know, forgiving figs or stuff like that, you know, then again, it can alleviate a lot of the pain that many people hold, which can obviously, I mean, that's for me is a big thing as a parent, is encouraging other parents to lead by example, and, you know, in every sense.
Yes, kids do what we do, not what we say.
Yeah, it's so easy to forget that.
See, the thing is, the answers aren't in psychology. The answers are in identity. That's where the answers are.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the answers are in identity, and seeing seeing who we truly, and we're not our thoughts. So, like, we're not our thoughts. Our thoughts come and go. They're not us. We weren't born with them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to end. I think that kind of summarizes that the most important thing to take away from that. And I really thank you for your time, Simon.
No, thank you.
Are there any, just on our last piece, where can people find out about you, your work, your books, your whatever you've got going on?
So best place is my website, Simon Benn with 2 N's.co.uk.
Okay, fantastic.
Well, there's loads of videos and articles and stuff, and if you know, this approach clearly isn't won't ring true for everybody. If it doesn't ring true, I guess people won't be listening to this bit, which is the end of the video. Sorry, the end of the podcast. They'll have switched off, thinking, "Who is this nutter?" You know, that's okay. You know,
the right people.
I do what I do, and I respect everybody's opinion.
Yeah, but the right people will be listening still. So that's all that matters. Well, thanks again, Simon.
Thank you.
And we'll catch up very soon. I'm sure we will.